Yeah, all good to go.
Well, hello, everybody. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Today, it is our joy to introduce to the class, the leadership training class, the eminent Dr. Kwame Gilbert, who resides here in Canada. Bishop Gilbert holds a bachelor's degree in Christian education from the Wesleyan Bible College, a master's degree in conflict resolution, master's degree in global human resource management from the University of Liverpool, the United Kingdom, a doctorate in organizational leadership from Logos University Graduate School in Florida. He also completed studies in crisis intervention and behavioral psychology. Dr. Gilbert is married to the beautiful songwriter and singer and recording artist, the Reverend Rona Gilbert. He has two sons that I have the pleasure of knowing, Jared and my man, I call him Uncle Ed Ray, the man Ed Ray Gilbert. Today, I'm going to begin in a strange way. I'm going to recommend to Dr. Gilbert that he reads two books that I have read, and I found them to be very good in terms of learning Christian principles and basically challenging and stretching your brain to become all that you can be for God. Dr. Gilbert, I'm sorry to have to do this, but the first one that I would introduce for you to read is called From Good Intentions to Intentional Living.
Okay.
The second book that I really had a great time reading, that one is called Transformational Leadership. And guess who wrote the foreword? The eminent Bahamian Dr. Miles Monroe. And this is the book here, Dr. Gilbert, that I would recommend for good Christian reading. The folks who are watching, they're just cracking. I'm up to some kind of trick. We're glad to have you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
The next 60 minutes and beyond, and we will let you loose. I have been teaching this class. I informed the brethren that we will have some extraordinary people that are coming on, and they're looking forward. And when I told them who the first one was, it created quite a buzz in the body of Christ. So,
okay.
You, Dr. Gilbert, the floor is yours. We're talking about leadership, and you're the man for the job. You're the best man for the job. God bless.
Well, thank you so much, Apostle Esse-boom, and good evening to our viewers. Good evening to those of you who are in the chat room, the class this evening. Leadership is a subject that I think is widely spoken about, but I think misunderstood in many ways. Many of us, we teach on leadership. Many of us speak on leadership because we have heard principles of leadership. We have heard people talk about leadership. Very few of us have the opportunity of actually living it. I have had the opportunity, the benefit, in fact, of watching leadership up close, a certain kind of leadership up close, and that is servant leadership. And the gentleman that introduced me is the person that has exemplified servant leadership. Many of us, we have read good books from Dr. Miles Monroe. We have read from leadership guru like John Maxwell. But the truth is, there are very few people who have the opportunity of observing leadership. I want to make some very quick clarifications at the beginning. A lot of people struggle with definitions and understanding the difference or making the differentiation or distinction between leaders and leadership. Sometimes I find people talk about leaders or they talk about leadership, but what they're really talking about is a leader style, or the style that a particular leader adopts. A leader and the leadership is not the same thing. It's a different conversation. The leader is the person. Leadership are the processes by which the person leads. So leadership and a leader is not the same, two different conversations. The leader is the person, leadership are the processes by which the leader leads. But I want to deviate a little because I'm laying a foundation. I understand that if I do well tonight, I'm going to be asked to come back next week. So I'm looking forward to coming back next week. But I'm going to be drawing, my discussion tonight is pretty much going to be drawing from the second book I wrote. I'm kind of working my way back to the first book. The first book was Transformational Leadership. And that, in fact, I should probably give you an opportunity to see that. Transformational leadership is really my doctoral thesis that I did. I did a doctoral program in leadership, I think about 12 years ago. And in one of my conversations with Dr. Miles Monroe, after he had come to Guyana, he asked me, he said, didn't you do something on leadership not so long ago? And I said, yes, I did my doctoral program. So he asked me about the script. He said, what have you done with the script? I said, I have it. And then he said to me, well, you need to publish it. That was when he made the suggestion. He said to me, if you publish it, I will put my name on it and people will buy it, not because you write it, but because my name is on it. I found that to be true in many ways. I think a lot of people see in Dr. Miles's name makes the assumption that there is some content worthy of reading in the book. But that first book, Transformational Leadership, really came out of my doctoral thesis that I wrote about 12 years ago. The second book, From Good Intentions to Intentional Living, really came as a result of my own journey of really looking at the way so many of us live our lives with really great intentions. We have good intentions that we are going to change the world. We are going to do better in our Christian life. We're going to do better on our job. But good intentions are never enough to really cause anyone to succeed. So I'm going to spend some time talking a little about this whole principle of moving from good intentions to living intentionally. So, ladies and gentlemen, 98% is good. 98 is actually a good number. That is, it's a good number if you are considering how long you would like to live. It's a good number if you're talking about a test score of 98% out of 100. But 98% is not a good number if we are talking about the amount of the percentage of persons who die without fulfilling their dreams. 98% of persons who die without accomplishing their purpose. 98% of individuals talk about the things they would like to do and like to become, but only 2% will actually get it done. 2% will become what God has destined for them to become. 2% will actually lead their lives in such a way that they accomplish things intentionally. And this matter becomes even more critical in the context of the emerging opportunities. And I want to speak to those of you who are geographically located in Guyana in this season. This is critical against the backdrop of the emerging opportunities in the context of Guyana, where the world is moving to Guyana for various reasons. And there are opportunities that are emerging. But many of us have good intentions, but we are not intentional about our lives. Listen up. Success in any area in life does not come through wishing, but through intentional living. I want to repeat that for your benefit. Success in any area in life does not come through wishing, but it comes through intentional living. Very important that you understand that and you embrace that, because the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people have good intentions, and unsuccessful people rather have good intentions, and successful people, they are intentional about their lives. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to look at how we can make that shift in how we begin, first of all, leading our own lives. And that's where it begins. The first level of leadership, the first level of governance is self-governance. First level of leadership is self-leadership. If you cannot lead your life, you will not be able to lead anything. You can't lead an organization. You can't lead a community. Worst of all, you can't lead a nation. So it begins with self-leadership. It begins with self-governance. So I want to clarify something very quickly. For those of you who are thinking to yourself, well, I'm not a leader. Let me say this to you. Every person is a leader. Every person is a leader. But leadership in one area does not mean automatic qualification for leadership in another. Let me give you a typical example. Let's say, for example, you and your brother, you go to the mall to look for something. You want to purchase an item in the mall. And for some reason, you become disengaged, disconnected from your brother. Your brother is younger. And in order to, you don't quite know the area that you have gone to, but in order to find your way out of a very difficult situation, you have to come up with a plan as to how you're going to become reconnected with your brother. How you're going to reestablish connection with your brother. I'm saying to you, every step that you take from the moment of disconnection to reconnection is a leadership decision. However you engage, whatever choices you make, because here's what I believe. True leaders emerge in emergencies. True leaders emerge in emergencies. There are lots of people who believe that leadership is about an appointment. Leaders are not appointed. Managers are appointed. Leaders emerge. Leaders emerge in emergencies or in a crisis. And it's important for you to know that sometimes all that is required for you to emerge as a leader is for there to be a situation or a crisis that demands leadership. And so in every area of your life, whether in the family, someone in the family is leading. Whether you're a husband or you're a single parent, a single mother, someone is providing leadership on the day-to-day, minute by minute, making decisions about what we will spend, whose responsibility it is to do X, Y, Z, what chores will be done, what time. Someone is always leading. But leadership in one area does not mean automatic qualification for leadership in another. And that's where sometimes we make mistakes as leaders in organization. We promote people out of their level of competency. And what we do is that we increase their incompetency because we have promoted them out of their area of competency. Some people, their calling, their grace, their anointing is to be the best Joshua to a Moses. To be a good second. There are some people who their grace, their gift, their anointing is to provide that level of support that makes the wheel turn, that makes the system work. And there are times when if you don't understand that you have been called to that level of leadership, this is what I have discovered, and this has come as a result of my own involvement in government. I have discovered that presidents and prime ministers do not run countries. Now, this may sound like a contradiction, but I'm telling you, presidents and prime ministers, they don't run countries. The people who run the countries are the people who have the ears of the presidents and the prime ministers. Very often, the ones in the room that speaks into the ears of the leaders are usually the ones with the greatest influence, because the leaders listen to those trusted voices, and those trusted voices, they understand the power they wield. They don't have to be the one with the gavel. They don't have to be the one signing on the dotted line, but they understand the power in having the ears of the ones who sign on the dotted line. So you have to understand that about your calling. So here's what I want to point out to you tonight about moving from good intentions to living intentionally and leading intentionally. It's a path that you have to take from drifting to shifting to lifting. So having good intentions is a far cry from living intentionally. You know, there's this old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with that statement. it makes it very clear that having good ideas or well-meaning ideas will not be worth anything without progressive action. And this is where intentional living kicks in. So we've got people who function in the drift area of life. They're always waiting to see what each day brings. And they're often surprised and very reactionary. So whatever happens on a given day, they are reacting. They get up every day without a set agenda for what they will do. So they're often surprised by the things that pops up, and so they're reacting to the things that pop up. People who function in a drift area, they have several unclear and undefined priorities. Today they want to be a welder, tomorrow they want to be a carpenter, next week they want to be a firefighter. They have clear and undefined priorities, and unfocused energy will have no impact. And so people in the drift area, they are constantly in a thinking mode. But then the growth trajectory of a leader requires that you move from the drifting to the shifting, where you become less reactionary. So you try to formulate plans, for example. You respond instead of react. You formulate clear visions and strategies. People in that zone, they're always in a planning mode, constantly planning. And when you move into the lift zone of intentional living, that's when goal setting becomes a habit in your life. You're constantly setting goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, readjusting those goals. They see problems as opportunities rather than as obstacles. They're always assessing progress, redefining goals, and repositioning. Later on, I'm going to talk a little about repositioning. And people who function in that zone, they're always in an investing mode. They invest time, they invest resource. They're constantly looking for ways in which they can invest in themselves, invest in their future, invest in their development. So those are the basic steps, I believe, that will get us to move out from just having good intentions to living intentionally. So I'm going to go back to the book very quickly. How do we make the shift from good intentions to living intentionally? Here's what you need to know. It's a daily commitment to passionately pursuing purpose while being patient in planning, proactive in repositioning, and persistent in progressing. These principles I've discussed in greater detail in the book. And if you don't have a copy of the book, I'm going to go back to the earlier slide where I shared with you. You can get it on Amazon. But these are the fundamentals of intentional living. It's a daily commitment to passionately pursuing purpose while being patient in planning, proactive in repositioning, and persistent in progressing. So let's take it up another notch. The question is, let's talk about your daily commitments first of all. Daily commitments. My question to you is, what are your daily dozens? What are your daily dozens? Now, some of you, if you've not read the book, you're kind of at a disadvantage because I'm pulling all of this together from different parts of the book. All right? But every one of us, we must have what I refer to as daily dozens. 12 things that we do every day. And you may say, oh, that's hard work. Listen, life is hard work. You can't be casual about your life. If you're casual about your life, you will end up a casualty. Life is about work. So to change your life, you must change the things you do daily. What did I say? To change your life, you must change the things you do daily. What are your daily dozens? The best preparation for tomorrow is to make the most of today. So living intentionally begins with daily commitment. Daily commitment. See, a whole lot of us, we think we're going to change the world, and we're going to change the world by doing these big things. Listen up. You change the world by doing the small things consistently. Consistency is the key. It's not doing great things. I think it was Bruce Lee who said, Bruce Lee, I believe, said that I am not afraid of a man that practices 1,000 kicks one time. I'm afraid of a man that practices one kick 1,000 times. Consistency. So what are your daily dozens? What do you do on a daily basis to change your life? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your daily dozens. This is how I broke it down. I broke it down into a quadrant of 4 quadrants. There are 3 things that you should do for your personal self and personal development and personal growth on a daily basis. What are your investments in yourself that you're doing daily? One of the things I have to work on is taking my vitamins, for example. That's for me. That's a personal commitment. From a spiritual perspective, spend some time each day working on my relationship with God. I must dedicate some time on a daily basis to commune with God, to talk with God, to our fellowship. What are the 3 things that you do on a daily basis for your personal life? The second quadrant, what are the 3 things that you do daily for family? That is an investment in family, generational, immediate, legacy. What are the 3 things? And then what are the 3 things you do that impacts on kingdom? What are the 3 things you do that will impact on community bigger than yourself? See, to live intentionally, you have to be intentional about the things you're doing daily. So one might say, well, I can't break down my life like that. Well, listen up. If you don't have a system, because this is what you need to know, everything in this world functions by a system. Everything in this world. Your body is a compilation of systems. You have the nervous system, you have the circulatory system, you have the excretory system, you have the reproductive system, the car that you drive, compilation of systems, the transmission system, the electrical system, the air conditioning system, the what you call it, the shocks, what they call that, systems. Systems is what makes things work. The world, they call it a solar system. But one of the reasons we struggle in life is because we don't understand the systems. We have all these ideas, but we don't recognize that there's a system, and you have to know the system, and you have to learn how to work the system. So if you can bring your life to a place where you don't just live daily, but you have a system of how you live. What are the 3 things that I am going to do every day that focuses on me? I'm going to exercise. I'm going to take my vitamins. I'm going to spend a few minutes meditating on reading a book, looking at some podcasts, something for my growth and development daily. I guarantee you will change your world. All right, let's move on for the sake of time. Daily commitment to, first of all, passionately pursuing purpose. Passionately pursuing purpose. What is your passion? What are you passionate about? I said a minute ago, you can't be casual about your life. If you're casual about your life, you will end up a casualty. What are you passionate about? What is your passion? What wakes you up in the morning and causes you to jump out of bed? Or when you wake up, you say, oh my God, it's another day. Listen up. What are you passionate about, my friend? You got to have a passion. Success in life. Success in life is not in a paycheck, but it's in pursuing your passion. You ask the question of any man or woman that has succeeded in life, they will tell you they weren't waiting for a paycheck. They were chasing a passion. They were chasing a passion. What do you have as a leader in your life, in your home, in your family, on the job, whatever it is you do in your business? What is your passion? What is your passion? It is your passion, T.E. Jake says, that empowers you to be able to do that thing that you were created to do. It is your passion that gives the fuel that empowers you to do that thing that you have been created to do. So I want to challenge you tonight. Discover your passion, man. Discover your passion. Discover that thing that causes your heart to leap. Discover that thing that keeps you awake at night, scheming and plotting and praying and fasting and trusting and believing, that thing that will not let you go. If you don't have it, I guarantee you will not succeed. There are very few people who can succeed in life without some degree of passion. You've got to have passion, my friend. So let's talk again. Proverbs 18:16 says to us, a man's gift, make it room for him and bringing him before great men. Who are those people? I'm sure that you can identify all of them. There's Barack Obama, there is Colin Sanders, there is Jeff Bezos, there is Tiger Woods, Billy Graham, Nelson Mandela. There's the fella at the back there, Einstein. There you go. Now, I'm sure that all of you are challenged by the life of these individuals one way or another, whether it's in politics or sports but I can say this one thing, every one of them, each of them had a passion that they followed, that they pursued, that brought them into greatness. What is yours? What is your one thing? See, a lot of us, we have different things. We got a million things that we know to do. But notice what Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's gift, singular, singular, a man's gift, singular. Barack Obama, gift of gab. Of course, he did law, brought him into politics, but the gift of gab. Oprah Winfrey, the gift of gab. She talked her way into billions. Tiger Woods, he didn't play cricket, played golf. What is your primary gift? What's that one thing that God has given to you that you're thinking it's inadequate, it's insufficient, I can't do this, I can't do that? Listen up. There's that primary gift that if you find it and if you chase it and if you believe that this is something God has given to you, I guarantee, my friend, it will open doors for you. And you might be able to do a million things, but find your primary gift. Find the gift that will open doors to you and bring you before great men. All right? So passion. Number 2, patient in planning. Patient in planning. Too many persons are in a hurry to get to the end goal. Let me say this to you. Planning requires patience. Planning requires patience. See, a whole lot of us, we want to get there. We want to get there. You start a business today and tomorrow you want to make millions. That's insanity. You've got to be patient as you plan. Take time to lay the foundations for proper building. You've got to plan your life, plan where you want to go. Too many of us, we have a great idea today and we run off and get started without doing our due diligence. Listen up. There's a scripture that I love. Luke 14:28-32, principle of planning. It talks about the fact that if a man desires to build a city, he must first sit down and consider the cost, whether he has enough to finish it. Here's the problem. We all have cities that we want to build. We all have something that we are trying to do. The problem is never about the what you want to do. It is always about the how, the strategy. And that's what planning really is. Planning is not about the what. The what is, I want to build a city. I don't know what your city is that you're trying to build. Maybe it's a business, maybe it's a consultancy, it's a ministry, something you're trying to do. The what is not important. You all know what the what is, the city. The problem is we don't have a strategy as to how we will build this city. And that's what planning is. And you've got to be patient as you plan. Don't run off and get started because you have a great idea. Be patient in planning. Successful people have a predetermined destination and a plan or a strategy as to how they will get to that destination. Planning and being ready ahead of time says to God, you can trust me. Bring it on. That's what you do when you plan. You're saying to God, I'm ready for this, God. You can trust me with this. Bring it on. Let me ask you a question. If God were to give you the $10 million that you have been praying for, do you know exactly what you will do with it? Do you have a plan as to what you will do with it down to the last dollar? See, a lot of us, the reason we don't have the money that we are praying for is because we have not demonstrated to God that we have a plan as to what to do with it. God will not give you a resource simply because you want it. God will give you the resource when you have demonstrated that you can manage it. The scripture says it. How will God entrust to you the true riches of the kingdom if you've not, first of all, demonstrated stewardship of the little? He says, when you are faithful with little, then he will entrust you with much. Therefore, that God has to see by your choices, by your actions, by your conduct, by your behavior, that you can be trusted with more than what you have right now. So you're praying for $1 million, but you don't even have a plan of what you will do with $1 million. God is not in the business of squandering resources. When you can prove to him that you know exactly, you got a plan, what you will do with this, God said, look, I can trust you because I know you will do great stuff with it. So be patient as you plan. Don't run ahead and start because you have a great idea. Intentional living, intentional leading requires that you be patient in planning. Number next, it's not the absence of resource that stops us from succeeding. It's a lack of resourcefulness. Not everyone starts life with money or with privileges or with connections. Some people have made their fortunes by finding a need and filling that need. It's not the absence of resource that's affecting you. It's the lack of resourcefulness. See, during the pandemic, a whole lot of us spent 2 years complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining. You're in the house with this man and he only passing gas all day and complaining. Instead of finding the need. There are a whole lot of people who made millions in this pandemic for that same reason. They became resourceful. Some people made masks and they sell. Some people got out and they made body bags. They found the need, man, and they met the need. So it's not your absence of resource. Don't complain about what you don't have. You have enough. Start with what you have. So number next, proactive. Proactive in repositioning. Live intentionally is to be proactive. It is to decide that you will make things happen rather than let things happen. That's something the apostle used to say. You've got to happen it. You've got to make it happen. Don't wait for things to happen. You have to be proactive to reposition yourself for the opportunities that God will send your way. There are two types of people in the world. There are those who let things happen, and there are those who make things happen. Who are you? Who are you? Listen, there must be a place in which you are connected relationally, spiritually, and physically in order to prosper. Are you understanding that it's necessary for you to reposition yourself? There are times when the cloud has moved and you are still stuck in what used to be and who you used to be. The cloud has moved. Reposition, reinvent yourself. Listen, here's what I believe. There comes a time when you will not be a first-class boxer. That's when the season to become a number one coach has now begun. Reposition yourself. Know the changes and the seasons in your life and reposition yourself for what God is doing. Many of us, we are busy griping over lost opportunities, a belly full of regret of things that you never got done. Listen, you can't build your life on regrets. Can't build your life on regrets. You've got to move on, reposition yourself sometimes relationally. There are some people who are not navigationally right for where God is taking you. And you have to know that there's some relationships that are seasonal. Now watch this. I know a lot of you folks are going to take issues with that because you're thinking, oh, the man of God is saying that you discard people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying discard people. There are some individuals, to maintain close proximity and relationship with them, they will increase the manifestation of mediocrity in your life. If you tolerate mediocrity in someone's life, you increase your own mediocrity. There are some relationships that you have to begin to redefine when it is taking you down a path that is navigationally wrong for where God is taking you. Reposition yourself. There's some relationships that are toxic, some relationships that are high maintenance, some relationships that are constantly demanding too much from you, that the price you pay is your peace of mind. If the price you have to pay to stay in certain relationship is your peace of mind, that is too great a price to pay. So relationally, you have to know how to reposition to ensure that you are available to do what God wants to do in your life. Spiritually, there's a place you have to connect spiritually. Now, there are a whole lot of people who say things like, well, it doesn't matter where you go to church once. Listen, don't make that mistake. Because if you have a heart surgery, you're not going to go to a butcher or to a mechanic. So it matters where you go spiritually. The church you go to, the man of God or woman of God who speaks into your life, it matters. So you have to be willing to reposition, understand the season you are in, understand where God is working right now, and you have to reposition. A good sailor understands that when the wind has changed, they don't keep rowing harder. They simply adjust the sail. And there are seasons in your life when what God is requiring of you to do is simply reposition yourself so that you can prosper. All right? So are you reinventing yourself, for example, to maximize on the season and the opportunities that are presented to you right now in this season in your life? Huh? Some of us are, like me, for example, I am getting up there in age, getting closer to retirement, and I have to be more intentional about what I do with my time, how I spend the few dollars I have. Because what happens in retirement, the bills keep coming when the income stops coming. And you've got to know how to reposition yourself to ensure that when that season comes, that you have been proactive in repositioning. All right? So you have to reinvent. Sometimes you have to reinvent yourself. You have to. Sometimes you probably have not been an investor. Maybe you want to get into some day trading, or maybe you want, I don't know, whatever it is. But listen, don't sit down there and continue to count the amount of failures you've had. Ask yourself, can I do this differently? Can I take what is given to me and make another product? And so you have to appreciate that the time has come when we have to look at what the environment is requiring. Here is something you need to know on leadership. All leadership is contextual. All leadership is contextual. All leadership is situational. Situational leadership demands that a leader understands what is required in any given situation. Margaret Thatcher, what they used to call the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher was a powerful political leader in England. England changed, but she could not adjust. And she began to attack all of the people who were her support base and diminished her own political capital because she was not willing to change. Situational leadership requires that you examine what the environment is doing and recognize what kind of leadership needs to be brought. I have seen political leaders who could not read the environment well enough. And they lost elections because they're not reading the environment. And there are other political leaders who maybe are not as effective in their leadership, but they're shrewd in their thinking. They can read the environment and they capitalize on the need of an environment. You have to, as a leader, recognize what the environment is demanding of you. And as a leader, you have to decide what's the best approach. See, some leaders lead from behind, some leaders lead from within or amongst, and some leaders lead from in front. There are times when the leadership that is required from you is that you lead from amongst the people. Jesus did that as a transformational leader. He showed them what to do. He did it with them, and then he sent them out to do it. We have to be able to understand that there is a place for you to connect relationally, spiritually, physically, if you are going to prosper. So be proactive. If you're out of place, you will be out of purpose. And if you're out of purpose, your life will be void of meaning. So understand the need to reposition. Ask yourself, am I in the place I should be to maximize on the opportunities that God has given to me, to capitalize on this season in my life? Do I need to reposition myself spiritually, relationally, even physically? Sometimes you may need to change province or change country or move out of the neighborhood. Listen, you have to understand, my friend, that leadership is situational. Sometimes you have to move. Ask T.D. Jakes, he will tell you, he was in West Virginia for many, many years, and then got a word to move to Dallas, Texas, and boom, shakalak. Things shifted. because he understood that somehow place, my friend, place is connected to purpose. There's a man for a place and there's a place for a man. So let's move on. Persistent in progressing. Persistent in progressing. Life is a process of highs and lows. You have to be persistent. Get up every time life knocks you down. You have to be persistent. Listen, falling down is not a crime. Staying down is what is unforgivable. You have to be persistent in progressing. Life is going to come at you hard. Situations will hit you at the side of the head, and you're going to get knocked off, of course. It happens to the best of us. What are you going to do? Sit around and complain all day about how bad people have treated you and all the things that went wrong? Life is a process of success and failure, victories and defeats. That is what life is. A process of successes and failure. The thing is, I'm not worried so much about the success. It's the failure sometimes that we don't deal with well. Oftentimes our struggle is about surviving the failures. How you get up each time you are knocked down. How you move on from people who have betrayed you and hurt you. And because I can tell you, leaders get kicked every time in the butt. I think it was John Maxwell who said that. He said, every time someone kicks you in the butt, it's a good sign. It means you are out front leading. And that's the truth. If you're leading, you're going to get kicked in the butt every time, because that's it. People will always look. The pain principle says it. Hurting people hurt people. And at times when that's what will characterize your leadership. For as long as you're leading, people are going to find something to pick on. And you've got to be persistent in progressing. Persistent in progressing. Don't quit because people have treated you badly. Or you listen, as a pastor, there are times when every time someone leaves the church I'm pastoring, I take it personally, because you're either thinking you didn't preach right, or you didn't visit them enough, or you didn't show enough care. It always affects you. But that's the reality of leadership. Leadership, people will come and go, and it's not always your fault. So if you're a leader, whether you lead an organization or a department or a ministry, you've got to get used to people leaving. You've got to get used to people criticizing. You know, one man says there's a good way to avoid criticism. The best way to avoid criticism is to say nothing, do nothing, be nothing, and you will never be criticized. So 90% of the person who fail are not actually defeated. They simply quit. They quit. How many of you have quit on your dreams because life happened? How many of you have given up on your dreams because life happened to you? I'm saying to you, it is time to be intentional. You can't give up simply because life happens. Hear me. Failure is a part of the process of success. Failure tells you what direction you ought not to go in. Thomas Edison tried to create the light bulb over 1,000 times, and people said to him, man, why are you continuing? Haven't you learned anything? I mean, you failed so many times. Why do you continue with this process? And he said, I have not failed. I have learned 1,000 ways it will not work. Failure is not an opportunity to quit. Failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to be better next time. I think it was Michael Jordan who said that. I've learned more from my failures than I've learned from my successes. So, my friend, you've got to be intentional. So, be persistent in progressing. You know, here's what Les Brown, someone who I've followed from a distance for a while, Les Brown says, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and sleep for it, if all that you can dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, if you simply go after that thing that you want with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence and stern pertinacity, If neither cold, poverty, famine, nor gout, sickness, nor pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing you want, if dogged and grim you beseech it and beset it, with the help of God, you will get it. It's speaking here of a commitment to be persistent, fight back, as the apostle used to say, like a junkyard dog. You sink your teeth in it and you go after it. I'm saying to you, that's what leadership is, man. You've got to commit that it's worth going after. There's nothing in this life that is worthwhile having that is not worth fighting for. And you're gonna realize that anything that's valuable, there's going to be a fight for you to get it. And if you didn't get it without a fight to hold it, you're going to have to put up a fight. So the intention. So the simple thing, and this, my friend, is probably the most profound thing I'll leave with you tonight. The simple thing that separates successful individuals from those who languish is the very thing that separates exciting and growing organizations from those that stagnate and die. The winners have turned initiative into a passion and into a practice. I want you to watch those two words. The winners have turned initiative into a passion and into a practice. The challenge, it turns out, isn't in perfecting your ability to know when to start and when to stand by. The challenge is getting into the habit of starting. Getting into the habit of starting. So, are you going to just continue talking about what you intend to do? Good intentions are never enough. Get started. Get into the habit of starting. I'll tell you an interesting thing about this very book I wrote. I started this book, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. And one night, I was sitting up on my bed and I was watching television. And it dawned on me that what I was doing was so counterproductive. And I'm thinking to myself, you're watching TV, you have a book that is unfinished. And the name of the book is Intentional Living. And you and you are not intentional. You have not been doing any writing for the past 2 years. You're writing a book on living intentionally. And for the past 2 years, you've not been intentional. And it was a personal rebuke. And I made a decision that night. I was going to write at least 1 page every single night. So regardless of how tired I was, sometimes I would type, erase, and by the time I'm ready to go to bed, I don't have a complete page because the idea is not flowing. And there are other times I wake up in the morning, the ideas are flowing, I take and I write 3 pages. But the only way that book was complete is because I needed to get started, get into the habit of starting. How about you, my friend? What is it you've been procrastinating, putting off, talking about what you will do and want to do and can do, but never doing because you are having good intentions, great intentions, but you're not being intentional in your living and in your leading. So that's all the time. I think that's all I want to give you for tonight. If you have your questions, I'm going to answer them as you present them. So thank you, Apostle, for the opportunity.
God be the glory. I know I did a good job. Everything that he told you tonight, I taught him that.
That's right. That's right. That is correct, man. That is correct.
The man said, Reverend Esse-boom preached a good sermon tonight. I taught him everything that he ever knew. To God be. Well, I would like for you to put up there on the screen where the people can get the books, Intentional Living and Transformational Leadership. We'd like to know where we can purchase.
Oh, yes. So it's on the screen. I hope they can see it.
Yes, I can see it now. I see the books, but I don't see the information on how they
Oh,
can.
yes. So it says they can purchase on Amazon. That's for those who are online. They can purchase on Amazon. For the ones who are not online, they can get it on. They can email me if they would like, and I can make arrangements for them to get a copy. A copy can be forwarded to them at some point.
What's your email address?
My email address is kwame.gilbert. It's on the screen, kwame.gilbert71@gmail.com. Or they can go to the website. The website is there as well. So kwame.gilbert71@gmail.com.
All righty then. Well, we're looking forward to hearing from the audience on when they want their books delivered, and those who will do the purchase on Amazon, then there's no need for that. But we are promoting good quality material based on the subject of leadership. We have got 3 more months to go, 2 months, and into the next month, that's when we end. And we want to pull out all the stops and make sure that at the end of this exercise, we would have gained a lot of info that will lead us to corresponding action. Because there's a deficit in our world of good quality leadership, because good leaders can cause great improvement, because everyone benefits when quality leaders emerge, because our world will be a better place when we have better leaders. And so we are pressing towards the mark for the prize. The prize at the end of this is raising up top quality leaders for kingdom impact. As a mandate that I was given many moons ago by the Lord here in Canada, raise up quality leaders for kingdom impact. We are glad tonight for Dr. Gilbert and for the deposit that he made. I'm sure that you took notes and that there's a lot of thinking that would have to be done. And then we rise up and happen it for God's sake. Make it happen.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Everybody. And God bless. We look forward to Monday coming, next Monday, when the eminent Dr. Kwame Gilbert will be back with us to press his subject a little more, press it home, and give us some thoughts to chew on and to be followed up with the necessary action. Any final words, Dr. Gilbert?
Well, just to commend you, Apostle, for what you're doing. I mean, the process of raising up leaders is an awesome one, the responsibility. And I know that you have been doing that for many moons. There are leaders who are in different parts of the world that you have influenced. And I believe that more than anything else, this generation needs quality leaders. And so I want to commend you for taking on the responsibility and the mantle of raising up leaders in this generation. And I do believe that the manifestation of this will be seen in a changed world. The men and the women who, if we can raise up good leaders in our homes and in our churches, in our community, then we can secure the destiny of nations. So looking forward to next week.
Yes, sir. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. To God be the glory for the great thing that he has done. Be sure to get the 2 books, Intentional Living and Transformational Leadership by Dr. Kwame Gilbert. God bless. Have a great time, everybody.